Hello Internet, welcome back to our tutorial series. And I thought we would, well, I definitely want to check this basement, but I thought we would cover vehicles in this episode. Vehicles at a glance. There's tons and tons of stuff about vehicles that we can't cover in one episode, but I thought we would at least cover how to tell if a vehicle is drivable, workable vehicle, or if it's a hunk of junk that's never going to go anywhere. And then if we find one that works, we'll talk about driving as well. But for now, let's check this basement. Okay, coming off of, I was just recording, so this looks like the game basement, so there's really not going to be much down here. Maybe it's supposed to be like a theater basement. I see a row of chairs, makes me think of like a projection screen. Coming off of, I just canceled my Age of Wonders series, and I'm a little frustrated, so I thought I would record some Cataclysm and try to get my head on right, and then, yeah, go from there. And hopefully I can keep that out of the video. But I'm pretty salty about how things went. Just got screwed by RNG over and over and over. And it's like, before you realize it, you're like, I'm winning, but this is not fun. And I don't think it's fun to watch either. And so I thought, I'll just scrap it and we'll start fresh or we'll abandon it. So this will go to the same place, of course. So we'll just pop up. You'll see it puts us back on these stairs. Super irritated. I really don't understand the duplicate stairs thing, but it's starting to really grate my nerves. What is this? Just floss and stuff. So not a lot really out of that survivor house. I mean, I think we got cots and things, but like really thought there'd be a little bit more to it. So I want to bring your attention to what is a little yellow light in front of my character's face. That means that the sunlight's glare is making it hard to see. So if we go over to glare in our effects, you'll see it lowers our perception by 1. This is usually not a big deal, but if you have a pair of sunglasses and you just throw them on, it'll take care of that. Certain hats will cut down on glare, etc. But yeah, usually sunglasses is the way to go. So let's talk about a quick video. Well, you know what? We'll make this real short unless we can find one that's drivable. You find a vehicle in the world. You probably want to drive the vehicle, right? That is pretty cool. How many roguelikes actually have vehicles in them? Cataclysm is literally the only one I can think of. So in order to tell if a vehicle is working, you can walk up to it. Like looking at this vehicle from a distance, this looks like a fully functional vehicle. But you cannot go based on the appearance. So we will the examine key, and we will examine the vehicle, and it will bring up this menu, and we'll go to examine a vehicle. This is a complicated screen. I remember having a lot of trouble with this when I started playing. So we're going to talk about this menu and how to quickly tell if a vehicle works or not, because you could spend a long time looking through here if you don't know what you're looking for. Number 1, does the vehicle have an engine? And for that, we will look right here. It's usually the top line. This vehicle does, in fact, have an engine. It has a 2.8 liter V6 engine. It has a gasoline engine, so we can see that here. Next, does that vehicle have a tank, and does that tank have fuel for this particular type of engine? We would see that right here. And so there is no tank on this vehicle, so this engine has no way of getting fuel. Next, does this vehicle have a battery? Once again, we would see this right here. This vehicle does not have a battery in it. In fact, it says down here, it shows the most damaged piece of equipment on the vehicle, which is a silly line that is very rarely ever helpful. But you'll see here that the car battery is completely destroyed, which is why it's not listed in this menu. Next, does the vehicle have wheels? For that, we look down here. This vehicle does, in fact, have enough wheels to drive on. That is what enough means. If it does not have enough wheels, it will tell you that it does not have enough wheels. And those are the main things to look at, okay? If your vehicle has all of those things, the next thing to look at is, does it have controls? Now, by default, you can move around and highlight different tiles in the vehicle, and when you do so, it will display the parts that are installed on that vehicle. Vehicles in Cataclysm are modular. They're based on a tile-by-tile basis, and they're just basically a bunch of glued together tiles. By default, it will highlight wherever the controls and seat are in that vehicle. So we will look at controls. If we have all those things and we try to start the car and it doesn't, we can't, the next thing to look at is, do you have controls and are they in working condition? The answer here is yes. And then a less required thing is also a seat. You do need a seat to drive, but that's so easily replaceable in general that I don't even bother looking at that. So those are the main things that you will want to look for. After you discover it has gasoline, for instance, we're looking at a tank. Does it have gasoline? We're going to look at how much gasoline. Is it enough to start the vehicle and get running? If this car has a battery, does that battery have enough charge to start the engine? Usually you need at least like 2% of a battery to get the engine to start. So that's something to keep in mind. Another thing to keep in mind is that some engines can be faulty. So even if you have all the things required, the engine may fail to start. And the only way to know for sure is to find the tile. Again, we can use the arrow keys or the numpad, the same keys you would use for movement, to navigate this. So you will look for the tile that has the engine listed, and the only way to really be sure that it will run if it has other problems, you will press the M key, which is to mend broken parts. Sometimes you need to mend engines. So here we got the message that no faulty parts require mending. So at a quick glance, we know this vehicle does not have a tank with fuel in it, and it does not have a battery. So in order to get this vehicle to work, all the other parts seem to be functional. We have controls, we have wheels. All we would need to do is put a battery in this and weld a tank. Actually, tanks don't weld anymore. They get bolted to the vehicle. We would need to put a tank with fuel on it, and we would need to put a battery in it. So as far as things go, this is not a terrible vehicle. A lot of times the hurdle is having tires. So we do have wheels on this vehicle, at least enough to drive on. But you can see here the tank is also destroyed. So we would need to do some work for this, but this is in decent condition, and we definitely could convert this to a working vehicle, not super easily, but if we have the tools to do so, we could do this. So like if we go to install, which we'll talk about all this a little bit more detailed a little bit later, but if I look for a tank, nope, look for 60, nope, can't install a tank here because there's already a tank there, sorry about that. If we look for 60, in order to install a tank, we would need, of course, the tank, which is like the easiest part of this usually, but we would require a tool with drilling and a tool with bolt turning, and we know from our previous play that we don't have drilling. So we would not be able to put a tank in this vehicle. So for now, this vehicle is beyond the scope of our ability to do anything with it. Similarly, a car battery is probably the easiest thing to install. All it requires is a wrench, and I know for a fact we have one at our base. And we would need a car battery, but we can take one out of another vehicle pretty easily. So just again, real quick, just to cover it, you look for the engine. Do you have an engine? If yes, great, move on. Next, do you have a tank with fuel for that engine? If yes, great, move on. Do you have a battery in this vehicle, and is the battery charged enough to start the engine? Again, I'm looking for at least 2%, because I think it can fail to start, but it still uses battery charge. Once you get the engine running, as long as you have an alternator on the engine, you will charge the battery over time as long as the engine is running. But you need that initial charge to start the vehicle. So always need at least a small amount of battery charge. Next, are there wheels on the vehicle, and are there enough to drive on? And then finally, controls and a possibly mended engine if you're running into other problems. So those are the basic things that I look at when I look at vehicles. So let's take a peek at this other vehicle. Going to do the same thing. You'll see this time the engine is listed as faulty. We'll talk about that more in a moment. We have a vehicle tank, but it is broken, so it has been leaking fuel. That's what the asterisk means, is that this is leaking. The asterisk can appear on a battery or a tank. This symbolizes that it is leaking. So unfortunately, we do not have fuel for this vehicle. It is a faulty engine. We do have a battery with enough charge for us to drive on. We are lacking wheels, which means this vehicle is not in good enough shape to drive, even if we had all this other stuff. And then our controls are in good shape. We do have a seat. And let's talk about mending engines. So here we have an engine, but it's listed as faulty. Well, that can mean a lot of different things. So in order to do this, we would press the M key, which would let us mend the engine. And here it will display a list of what is wrong with the engine. So we have a worn drive belt, which is required for operation of an attached alternator. What this most likely means is that your batteries would not charge because the alternator would be faulty, or rather the engine would be faulty in conveying charge to the alternator, which would then fail to charge the battery. So over time, this will go down and we'll never get more battery charge, and the engine will eventually stop working. Next, we have an expired air filter. reduces fuel efficiency and increases smoke production. This is not a big deal. If we had to drive on this, we could. Basically, it would just use more gas. And it would produce more smoke, but that's usually not a big deal. Then we have a faulty water pump. It is required to pump water to an external radiator or heat sink. Most likely, this would prevent the engine from starting at all, so this would be a priority to fix. There are quite a few of possible faults with an engine. Some are easily fixable, some are not. So for instance, the air filter, I believe we can manufacture one pretty easily from scratch. If we had the right books and some materials, it's not very hard. Drive belts, really any leather belt will allow you to fix that. Last I checked, they were also fixable with just duct tape, which I thought was real dumb. A water pump requires a special part. I believe that we can manufacture it, but we're nowhere near high enough in our mechanics and fabrication skill to do so. So this engine, even if it had everything else, is a little bit beyond our scope right now for being able to repair things. So let's just keep looking at vehicles here. We're going to be careful, of course, because there are enemies in this area and the sun is going down. Let's take a quick look at this ambulance. And it is an ambulance. It does say the name here. You'll learn what the vehicles are just by looking at them after a while. So here we have an ambulance. So we have an engine. Once again, engine is faulty, but as we discussed, that could be perfectly fine or it could be really, really difficult to fix. It is a gas engine. We do have tanks with the appropriate fuel inside of them. We do have car battery. However, the battery is leaking charge and so has been reduced to 0. So this engine will not start for us. We are missing wheels as well, so we could not drive on it. And we do have controls and whatnot. So let's try to mend this engine. This one has a faulty starter motor. It is required to initially start the engine. Now, previously, this would completely prevent, or wait a minute. Previously, it would let you still occasionally start the vehicle, but I've had this issue in recent, like the last year, and it basically would not let me start the vehicle no matter how many times I tried. So it either will occasionally let you start the vehicle or it will fail every single time and just drive you crazy. So yeah, it's problematic. So that's something. What else did we not talk about with the vehicle? I'm sure there's something else that's important. You need dashboards to use like your headlights and stuff, but that's not really necessary. Security system. So you'll see here the security system is broken. If you start a vehicle with a functional security system, I'm not sure if it's all the time or just occasionally, but they will set off a car alarm. And last I checked, it never went off, so it would just go off infinitely. So definitely kind of don't want that. Additionally, depending on the vehicle, you should check the interior. So this is an ambulance, so there's going to be medications in the rear, which we'll pick up. Step back outside. Let's take a look at this pickup here. Oh, it's a 4x4, my mistake. So we do have a gasoline engine. We do have fuel for that gasoline engine. We do have battery charge for this vehicle, so we could start the car. We do have enough wheels. My God, this is a functional vehicle. And here, just to be sure, we have wheels and everything. Check the controls. We do have working controls. We do have a reclining seat, so we can drive this vehicle. The only concern is the security system, which hopefully will be a non-issue. So, we found a vehicle that works. What do you do now? Well, first you loot everything out of the back. There's a spare tire in the trunk, flashlight in the front seat, along with some cigarettes and a lighter. So let's hop in this bad boy. And in order to drive, we press the caret key. That is, I think, is it spelled C-A-R-A-T or is it K-A-R? It doesn't matter. Shift 6 on the American keyboard, which is it looks like a tiny upwards arrow. And you'll see we got this message. You don't find any keys in the 4x4, but we could use a screwdriver to hotwire it. Which most likely means that this car alarm will go off when we try to drive the vehicle. Now, aside from being obnoxious, car alarms are, noisy. So what we're going to do, we're going to go back to base. We're going to grab ourselves a screwdriver. The sun is going down, but that's not really a big deal. Saw a zapper zombie again. Where are you? Over by the park. Well, we can't go over there and deal with him. So we're not going to do that. We're just going to head back to... This is not our base. Where's the swimmer at? Way over there. Head back to base. We're going to grab a screwdriver because we would love to get a functional vehicle back here to the base. Let's go ahead and look for a screwdriver. Nope, don't need both. Just need the one. So we will head back up to... Let's turn on safe mode and we'll go... Nope. Didn't really work. We'll go the back way and hopefully not run into anything. Yeah, ignore the pit bull, please. Okay. Tough zombie. Where are you? We didn't see you before. He might come over here and make some trouble. Survivor zombie. Did we not clear... So they're hearing the sounds of the... We're going to just go around. We're not going to deal with them. They're hearing the sounds in the prison. And they're going to go over there. We really don't want to have to fight them. I really don't want to fight another survivor. That's like the 6th one that was in this one house that gave us nothing. So it's super disappointing. So we're going to start this. It may alert everything in the area to us, but that's okay. So we'll press the caret key. You don't find any keys. Would you like to attempt to hotwire the vehicle? Yes. No car alarms so far. It is taking us a remarkably long time. The red wire always starts the engine, doesn't it? Is that an indicator that it's going to work now? You hear... Okay, stop. We're going to stop. This has set off the alarm. You can see that by looking over here. Now, again, to my knowledge, this never stops. The only way to circumvent this is to remove the security system, which you'll see requires very high skills, which we do not have. Alternatively, we could just start smashing this square and hope that we hit the security system. The reality is, though, that we would destroy the controls and whatnot. So what's going to happen is the enemies are going to come out here. We did hear glass breaking, and they're probably going to go and start smashing up this vehicle, which is really disappointing because we had, we're hearing quite a lot of noises over there. Cop zombies as well. Let's try to pull some of them off and fight them. Because I really don't want to deal with a whole ton of stuff. But I also don't want them to destroy the vehicle if I can avoid it. Because we may be able to salvage at least parts from the vehicle later. So, man, you're quite fast. Why? Is it you're fast or am I slow? I seem to be perfectly at an appropriate rate of speed. So let's just deal with the child if we can. Please, you obnoxious child. I expressed my issues previously. Ignore with them being hard to hit, even though I feel like they're large creatures and shouldn't be hard to hit. Fat zombie, yeah, let's stop. It's weird that they're coming down here after us when there's a car alarm blaring nearby. You would think they would be more distracted by that sound. She's not really interested in following us, apparently. We need to step away and get our stamina back. So let's do this. Ignore. We'll head back up to Pulp and to get eyes on the vehicle and see what all has come out of the woodwork to attack it. Now on the plus side, this is somewhat beneficial in that it will pull all the enemies to it and clear out the area around us. Multi-tool is a very good find. It has a lot of tool qualities that we've been missing. No drilling, unfortunately, but we can look for other things. This tool is also pretty good for having. It is a personal massager. It can give a pretty significant boost to your morale when you're feeling sad, so I usually try to keep at least one around. Fruit leather keeps for a long time and has some fruity vitamins in it, although that's less valuable these days than it used to be. Ignore. The problem is that with Cataclysm, there's no such thing as an off switch. This thing will go off pretty much forever, because I remember bringing one to my base and it just never ever stopped. So unless that has changed recently, this thing's going to go off forever. Now on the plus side, we can drive it if we hotwire it. If we can get it started, we can still drive it. Yeah, let's stop. We heard thump. Looks like it's just another regular zombie come out to play a little bit. Let's run. Okay, try to keep some distance. And just to make sure nothing else is around. Again, just because we're doing something stupid doesn't mean we need to be completely idiotic about how we go about it. Oh, we picked up a map earlier and I meant to talk about it and I forgot. Let's keep trying to hotwire this. Trigger the alarm. No. What? Hotwire, yes. You'll see the alarm is still blaring. I would love to get into the vehicle. We've been trying to hotwire this for literally hours. I don't remember it being quite so difficult. Oh god, they've come. Okay, so close this. We're going to run. The horde of children from the park have now arrived at the vehicle. I'm not sure how they got over here or why it took them so long, but we're going to abandon that now because it's entirely too dangerous for us to try and fight a horde of small children in our current condition. So, yeah, a little bit disappointing. Where's the Zapper zombie? Way over there still. Weird that he didn't go up when the horde of children did. So that's interesting. That's so peculiar. Maybe they hear better, although I don't think they do, because they came from quite a ways away. They came all the way up here. It's pretty far for zombie migration. You don't usually see them move quite such large distances. Anyway, we talked about vehicles. I wanted to cover the actual menus in that and give you a better explanation, but I wanted also to just share the information of, like, this is how you quickly, because I hear people all the time. I see people on Discord and they're like, how do I know if the vehicle works? You know, I'm staring at this menu. I don't know how to make it do anything, you know. And it's like, well, what does the red asterisk mean? And I don't understand. Well, how I have a battery but it's not charged, why does that prevent my car from starting? So I thought I would give like a brief overview of how to glance at that screen and know what you're looking for. Hopefully that was good enough. So basically, now that we've triggered that alarm, that monster density is going to tear up the vehicle because the vehicle's making noise. They're just going to smash it to pieces. So unfortunately, that potentially drivable car is not drivable. So and it wasn't really drivable in the beginning. We spent 2 hours or 3 hours trying to hotwire the car, and it just did not work for us. So sometimes it's like that. You know, what are you going to do? If we go, like, honestly, if we go like another 20 episodes and we haven't had a vehicle, we'll probably start building one from scratch, but most likely we will be able to just find one that works. So we'll see. But then building one from scratch is also a learning opportunity, and we can talk about the modularity of the vehicles, but whatever, that's not a discussion for now. So for now, I think I accomplished what I wanted to. It just turned out bad because the child horde showed up. But we will we'll reassess in the next episode. So for now, thank you for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed the episode. I'll be back with more Cataclysm tutorial content in the near future, and I'll see you next time.